she can answer those questions very quickly. And we'll do Q&A at the end, of course, as we always do. Just wanted to go over our software programming mantra here at Aptora. I usually do this. The first thing we think about when we work on our software is first, do no harm, don't break anything. Not easily done when you're dealing with almost 2 million lines of code, about 1,000 forms. When you look at all of our software, Total Office Manager is about 600 forms, 1.5 million lines of code. It's hard to not break something. We're always looking to produce more reliable updates. That has been a big challenge. I have not made that a secret. I've not been happy with our updates breaking things. And I know we're not alone, but that's not an excuse. So that's always a priority of ours. And I think we've done a much better job in the last year or more. We're always trying to make the software faster. Nobody argues with that. And we have made it a lot faster. You may not realize it because speed is something that just sneaks up on you, but we have actually made huge gains in our speed and stability. Number 4, we want to stop programming for dysfunctionality. And that's not meant to be disrespectful. We all have dysfunctionality to a certain extent. Certainly I do. Certainly my companies do. But we don't want to program for that. We want to establish best practices and build software for those best practices. We've been doing a lot of best practice building. We are part of EGIA Contractor University. As many of you know, I'm a faculty member there, one of the founding faculty members, and we work really hard to come up with best practices and standards and program for those, and try not to program weird workarounds for unusual situations. And then finally, add features, but only add features that the majority of our core users will benefit from. And that's tough. That's a tough decision-making process. If you go to support.aptora.com, you might see our new feature request system, and I invite you to get involved in it. And we're always looking for good features. We have to say no a lot, unfortunately, because there's only so much time to do those. I always try to share one of our core values. At Aptora, we have 5 core values. Our number 1 core value is do not lie, cheat, or steal. Today's webinar agenda, the surveys went out, and the survey says Aptora Mobile II. It was overwhelmingly in favor of going through Aptora Mobile II from the perspective of a technician. So we really appreciate you answering those survey questions, because we don't want to decide. We don't want to decide on features, by the way. We really don't. We don't want to pick features and put them in. I mean, who cares what we think? We're more interested in what you think and prospects think. Same way with these webinars. I just want to cover what you want to hear. So we are going to go over Mobile 2. We'll cover some of the basic settings. We'll go over some user interface tips and tricks. We'll run a service call from start to finish. And then we'll finish by going through a short sales presentation. We'll put multiple options in front of the customer, and we'll finish by processing an estimate. And we'll do live Q&A with Erica from start to finish. You can ask questions at any time. She types about 4 million words a second, so it's easy for her to get in there and answer those questions while we're in the middle of our webinar. Remember, it's really important to get involved in training. If you're not involved in training, you want to get the most out of your tool, your software tool, by getting training. It's also important to have a person in charge of learning everything there is to know about the software. That's really important. So you want to have 1 or 2 people that are responsible for knowing the most about the software. I want to remind everybody to keep an eye on our release notes. The best way to learn about Total Office Manager, Aptora Mobile, etc., is to read our release notes. We are trying to improve our release notes. I think they're pretty darn good. We try to explain exactly what we did, whether it's a feature or a bug. We don't just type in fixed bugs, which a lot of companies do. We try to point out exactly what the bug is. We put in the ticket number. In case one of you put in a ticket on it, we'll put in the ticket number so you can go see, hey, that's my ticket number. I'm going to go test that and see if that's still an issue. Or a feature request. we'll put in there that this was a feature request. And that way you can say, hey, there's my feature request. But please keep an eye on those release notes. We try to do a really good job of explaining the things that we've added and modified and improved on. All right, so I said we would talk about mobile. Before I schedule a service call, let's go into mobile and have a look. I'm in the browser version of mobile. As you probably know, we offer two mobile experiences. We have a browser app, or a web app as it's properly called, web app, and that's in a browser like this. And then we have an app, a regular mobile app that you download. I wanted to tell you the differences real quick. First of all, the web app allows you to have multiple columns. So you could right click and do new tab and see another part of the software. You could have multiple tabs going at one time. That's one big advantage of using the browser version of this software. You can have those multiple tabs. There are disadvantages though. Currently, you cannot do credit card scanning, meaning you can't scan the face of a credit card. You can still process credit cards, but you just can't scan the face of it. And the GPS is less predictable and unreliable. So when we are trying to track a person's whereabouts using the web app, we don't have as much control. And so it's a less reliable situation when it comes to GPS tracking. So those are the two things that the web app doesn't do as well as mobile. Now, mobile, on the other end, the mobile app doesn't allow you to have multiple tabs. So you can't have multiple tabs. And some of you love having multiple tabs. The app doesn't work that way. It just doesn't allow us to do that. And we're constrained by that, by the way. So that's not even a feature request we could entertain. It just doesn't work that way. The apps have their own rules. But the app does allow you to do credit card scanning. It does allow you to do barcode scanning. And I should have mentioned that the browser version currently doesn't do the barcode scanning. And it provides a much more reliable, predictable, accurate GPS tracking mechanism. Other than that, they are identical. They look the same. They have the same words, same screens, etc. As you probably know, your browser operates a little differently. So your menus pop up a little differently in a browser than they do on a app, on a mobile app on your phone or your tablet. The scroll bars look and work a little differently depending on the device that you're on. So there's some tiny little differences, but all the screens, the field names, etc., they're all the same. So you'll want to pick whichever works best for you. Now for demoing, I use the web app just because it's easier than trying to connect my mobile screen to my laptop. I've had too much trouble with that live, and I gave up on doing that. All right, so with that in mind, let's log out. Are you sure? Yep, I'm sure. So I'm going to log out of here, and I'm going to log back in as an administrator. Logging in as an administrator. Come on. A new version's up. Oh, wow. I could have got a new version. Okay, well, that's all right. I'm not going to do it right now in front of all of you, but we could do software update. And of course, notice that that was the admin that could have done that. So I'm not going to deal with that right now. What I wanted to do was, as the administrator, I wanted to come in and talk about some of the settings and security and so forth. You have quite a bit of control over the user experience. Some settings are global, most are user related, and there's typically a copy button to apply those settings everywhere. You can come in, for example, and set up how the invoice looks and what information is on the invoice. And then you can copy those settings to everybody. So for example, you could say that we are going to have a flat rate pricing presentation always, or we're going to do itemized with no individual pricing or time and material. And then you have a copy report type to all users. Just put that as yes. And when you hit save, it copies to everybody. And then you can decide on the title, the terms, the footer, and then you have a lot of other settings. Do you want to include the decline option so they can say yes or no to your different options and so forth? Don't forget, if you have multiple locations, the doing business as is an option for you. So you could set this as the south location, west location, your downtown location. That's coming from Total Office Manager. And then again, remember, there is copy to everybody opportunities throughout. And you just set which ones you want to yes and hit save. And now those have applied to everybody. And you can go through and do the rest of the settings. And I won't go through all of them, of course. Credit cards and signature, a lot of people forget that they are able to add their own fine print to the signatures. So each signature box can have its own text. And then again, that can be applied to everybody. Also, remember that there are settings for grids. And if they have permission, each individual user can do this. But you can go in and modify your work order list, your timesheet list, your sales opportunity list, your customer list, etc. So let's look at work order list. These are the available columns. You can change the order. Activate means show them, of course. And when you're ready, hit update. And that way you have control over what's on the lists and the order of those lists. And remember, if you grant permission, each user can do that as well. Hopefully you're aware of the automated text messaging. That's a great feature. I'm surprised a lot of people still are not aware of that. That's why I reminded you to read your revision notes, your release notes, because it shows things like that. Search options. I'll show you this one. This isn't so obvious. A lot of people don't realize that they can change what this search button down here does. You can search, for example, customers, appointments, estimates, whatever you want. You have options on that. All right, so enough of that. If you have any questions about any of that, we can always talk about it later, or you can type in your question with Erica. But I think those are some of the things that I wanted to show you without going into every one of them. So I'm going to log back out. And I'll log in as Ashley, the world's greatest technician. All right. Now, as you probably know, you can control what buttons are on the home page. There are settings for that. Even if you have permission to see, like, for example, appointments, you may not want to. You may not want to see them here. And you have control over this. So you can make this interface a lot cleaner if you would like to. We'll go to the hamburger menu. We'll go to more. We'll go to settings. And what you will see is a lot of the same settings that we saw earlier, but these are on a personal level. These are just for you. Now, you can grant this user permission to copy their settings to other users. If they have permission for that, they would be able to go in, just like you saw as an admin, and copy certain things to all people. Let's click display. One question we're getting a lot of is related to this limit search results to. People are asking about why they're not seeing certain number of search results. You would set that here. And by the way, I see one question that asks about going through text messaging. There's great videos on that. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll see videos. There's also great detailed, very detailed help topics on all of that. All right, so I wanted to point out the limit search results too, because a lot of people have this set at 5 and they're calling TechSport on that. So please just set that to wherever you like. Now, the home page can be customized here, as I mentioned. So you would click that button and it would give you an opportunity to decide which buttons you want to see on your home page. And then finally, you can hide the bill to address if you don't think the technician needs to see that. So that's just some of the settings. You can see here we have a lot of settings, preferences, options, and that's not even getting into security. Speaking of security, let's go back home. Click the hamburger menu. We'll go to More. We'll go to Security. And we'll do user permissions. We'll pick Ashley again. As you can see, we have a lot of permissions for what you can view and edit and add and so forth. And then we have lots of these yes or no's. So please be sure to study those if you haven't done so. And I just wanted to point out the work order settings because they're going to apply to what you see today. Do I want to allow editing of work orders that are not assigned to this person, Ashley? Do I want to allow this user to cancel a work order? Do I want them to edit work order numbers? Maybe not. Do I want to enable the automatic work order end time stopwatch feature? Now, let me explain that. That's fairly new. What this means is if you schedule this work order to start at 2 p.m. and end at 4 p.m., and she clocks out at 3:45, it will change the end time of the work order to 3:45 to match her punch out on the time clock. That's what that does. So you decide if you like that or not, and that's per user. Do you want to limit the work order list to display only completed work orders? That's the master list. Only display one work order at a time. So this would, when this is turned on, this would keep Ashley from seeing any other work orders. You would be able to schedule her for 5 work orders, but she would only see one at a time. And as she completes them, she'll see the next one. When she completes it, she'll see the third, fourth, etc. Also, you can add the next day work order, which could be tomorrow, could be the day after tomorrow, could be Monday. So in addition to one work order at a time, would you like to show her the next work order after today? Those are some of the settings that you might want to be thinking about. There's a lot of good ones in here. Keep in mind, settings, preferences, this is a sign of very evolved software, very mature software. You'll notice that some programs have very few preferences. This is like custom programming. If you think about it, these are differences of opinion. These are people over the years telling us they don't do it that way. I want it this way. We have all these differences of opinion, and each of these settings matches those differences of opinion. Otherwise, we would need no settings. We would tell you what to do. And software is simple with no settings. You can make software a lot easier if you just get rid of all this stuff. So it can be seen as a disadvantage. Get rid of all this, it's easier to use. But people don't like that. People don't want that. So this software, in a way, is very customizable because we have thousands of settings. I've never counted them all. All right, so I'm going to go back to the home page, and we're going to get started. Let me tell you a few things about these menus just quickly, and then I'll get on to that work order. The calendar, there is a calendar for just this person and a calendar for the whole company. It's not meant to be a dispatch board. So it'll never be a dispatch board. No time soon, anyway. Timesheet entries, if you want to give them permission, they can just punch in and punch out right here. And they can clock in and clock out other people and groups of people. if they have permission. Appointments, if you use that feature, then this would be their appointments for the day, such as a salesperson. Sales opportunities, if it's a technician, they probably don't use sales opportunities. Sales opportunities follow-up. These are sales opportunities produced by this user. Now, this is important because imagine Ashley is a service tech and she's a non-selling tech. She's a lead producing tech. She produces legitimate sales opportunities. Well, she would enter them here and she would be able to track them. So she wouldn't have sales opportunities. She's not a salesperson. She would have sales opportunity follow-ups. These are opportunities that she puts in for other people, or the office can assign them later, but they have her name on them. And that way she can follow up on them to make sure that her leads are being followed up properly. She might have a monetary interest in that. If nothing else, we just want to prove to her we're not ignoring these. If she had parts on order, this would tell her they've arrived. So we would know the parts have arrived here. We can talk more about that if you'd like to. Oh, you know what? I just misspoke. I'm so sorry. A sales opportunity follow-up. These are the sales opportunities that you have that you need to follow up on. So a salesperson would have these two, but a technician wouldn't. So sales opportunities, that's all your opportunities. These are the ones that have a follow-up date equal to today. The employee leads is what I was referring to earlier. Pardon me for that. She has 7 leads that she has entered into the system, and she can keep an eye on them right here. That way she knows that you're working her leads in progress, on hold. She might want to look at that. What do you mean on hold? And she can click that. Now you can give her permission to look at these, edit these, but this allows her to go in and see what's going on with that sales lead. Maybe she gets $10, a $10 incentive, if that lead turns into a sales presentation. Okay, work orders. Here we are. We have a work order. How did it get here? Well, we probably all know how it got here. We have many ways to add a work order to the system, one of which is to come into the schedule board and right-click and do new work order. But there's the work order for Ashley, and there she is. So there's the information about that particular work order. As you may know, you can hover over it and scroll. I'm using the wheel, the rotation wheel on my mouse, and I'm scrolling right there. Otherwise, I can hover over it, double click on it to see it, maybe right click on it, do quick edit. There's your quick edit, various properties. So I would right click on that and I would mark it as scheduled. Now, if you're using mobile, the rest of it can be up to your technician, dispatched, en route, working, etc. But we'll go from, say, scheduled to dispatched. That means that we have acknowledged that work order and we've started the process. So dispatch simply means that there's some verification that the technician knows about it. It's not merely scheduled, they actually know about it. If they have mobile, of course, they'll know about it. There's the work order right here. So the first thing I would do as a technician is I would look to see if I have any overdue reminders. Do I have any chat messages that need my attention? I might clock in the morning if that's how you want me to do it. And then I clock out at night. But I'm going to clock in and out on my work orders for the sake of this conversation. I'll click work order. There's my work order list. Now remember, I could see my entire day of work orders here. But I only see one, and that means that I either only have one or you set it so that I can only see one. And remember, I have the ability to search on all of these lists. I have the little funnel that you can click right here. And I have that Excel-like feature. If you use Microsoft Excel, That's the same type of thing. Usually here, you wouldn't need such extensive filtering. Let's go ahead and eyeball it. So we'll click the little I to open that work order, and there it is. If we want to, we could right-click on the customer and look at the customer's information here. We could scroll down and see more information. We could click the address to pop open a map. The general tab remember, these field names are identical to Total Office Manager. Same field names. Notes, you've seen that. Detailed description. So we had a short description, which was no cooling upstairs. Under notes, we have a longer description. They have two systems. Last time we were there, it was on the other system. You'll need an extension ladder. Private notes. So these would never get printed. The customer, he thinks that this is a callback. Not little typo there. Work order upstairs. So we were on a work order, our last work was on a different system. So that's good to put in notes like that you don't want shared. Technician hasn't entered any notes yet. Under assets, we would have anything that we want to assign to the customer, not to the customer, I'm sorry, to the technician. And there's the extension ladder. So the notes mentioned that he needed an extension ladder. There it is. Items. The technician will eventually add items, but you can see that the office has already added the diagnostic fee for us. And under equipment, we would see a list of the equipment that pertains to this particular service call. And I think a lot of you are not new to the software, so all of this so far makes sense. Now, your first step is probably going to be in route. One of the user interface changes as we move the buttons. That's the new way of doing it. There's certain interface rules that we have to follow, and this is to keep Apple happy. Under the hamburger menu, we move the start in route. And remember, you can hide these. You could just not even use this feature. That's a preference. So for today's conversation, I'm going to use this feature to clock in and out. When I'm ready to leave and head in that direction, I would click Start en route. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And that's that. Now, when I get there, I'm going to click Start Working Timesheet. So we're going to start working on it. Normally, I wouldn't get there in 15 seconds, right? So we're driving for half hour, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. We park. When we're ready to approach that door, that's when we hit Start Working. And now we're ready to begin the process of our service call. Now, what happens outside of mobile is up to your company. Hopefully, there has been something put in writing. We call it the perfect service call, and we have a big document on it, the perfect service call, which explains everything that should happen. Non-mobile, that's without regard to mobile, all the things that need to be done. But here's where we knock on the door, don't ring the doorbell, introduce yourself, etc., and we get to work diagnosing the problem. Now, remember, this is a work order, and it's different than an invoice. It's different than an estimate. A work order has its own purpose, and it's important to understand some of the differences. When do you use a work order? When do you use an estimate? Remember, a work order is a non-accounting form. There's no accounting. It doesn't hit the general ledger. There's no sales tax calculations, things like that. It's a permission slip. Now, it's evolved over the years to have lots of other information on it, equipment, items, assets, things like that. It has evolved due to customer demand, but a work order is a non-accounting form and should never be an accounting form. It's a permission slip to do work, and it has all the details. And if you're old enough to remember, watching television a long time ago, you probably learned about work orders because you would watch TV and people would talk about a work order. I can't do it without a work order. I need the work order. I have a work order to repair your phone. They weren't there with an invoice to repair the phone. They were there with a work order to repair the phone. So work orders are just permission slips. So we have to start with that. Now, we're going to get to work trying to figure out the problem at hand. At some point, you're probably going to want to enter items. The diagnostic fee is already there, so we can start with that. Notice there's two buttons up here, add services, add items. Yours may look different. This is a preference. You may only see add items, but you might also see add services. The idea behind this was for flat rating. You would first start by adding a service, such as replace a fan motor, clean a coil. And then when you're finished, you would add the items for inventory purposes. If you're time and materials, you probably don't want the services button. I'm going to click it because I know most of us are flat rate, especially in a residential arena. The first thing I need to do is determine what is necessary to get this system running. And it may be that the first thing that I need to do is replace a half horse motor. I'm just going to type in half HP. There are other search options, such as do you want to search for contain, starts with, ends with, do you want an exact match? I leave that unchecked and I always use contains. And when I type that in, I'm ready to just hit enter and I'll go find it. So there it is. I'll just pick that one. Now, in addition to that, I might want to clean the evaporator coil or the condensate drain. So I'll type in the word clean to see if that gets me there. And I may have to narrow it down because you might just have way too much to pick from. So in addition to clean, I might say evap, just part of the word evaporator. Nope. So how about just evap? Nope, too many of those. So I'm going to go to more filters. And I'm just doing this to show you all your options here. I'll go to item category. And now I might want to filter my category. So I might want to come into cleaning. And I'm pretending like I just don't have any idea what that is, that cleaning. Usually you're doing 50 things most of the time. So you get used to these really quick. So you might be looking for a category for cleaning. And then your company might have set it up for condensate drains or evaporator coils, just depends. That's how I have it set up. So now it narrowed it down. Now I can find what I need. So I'm going to say I'm going to remove and chemically clean the evaporator coil. So I'll check that. And then I might want to clean the drain. So I'll type in the word drain and see if there's anything there. And you get the idea. Let's type in condensate. Drain assembly. All right, and then add. Oh, by the way, before I add, if there were already items on here, I could choose to add those before the existing items, in between them, at the end. So you'll be able to pick the exact position you want to put them. And I'll click add. Now, I'm still on the same page because we don't really know where you want to go at this point. So we chose to just keep you on the same page here, in case you're wondering. And if you're ready, hit the back button. Depending on your device, the back button may be here, maybe elsewhere. And we're back to the work order. Now, we don't even know what tab you want to be on. You might want to be on the items, or maybe you're finished with the items and it just doesn't make sense to take you to the items. It's hard for us to know those things. Here on the Items tab, you can edit what you have or delete it. So let's just click this little edit button. We can change the quantity here. Depending on the item, we might change the warehouse or the amount. Diagnostic fee, I'll hit edit details. That would take us to a form, which would allow us to change more. Remember, if it's an inventory item, then we would have a warehouse, etc. So it just depends on the item. So at this point, I'm ready to describe our work. So I'm going to go to the Notes tab and hit Edit. And I'm in the technician notes, and I can start typing in all the work that I did. I'm going to fix that typo first. Even though I'm a tech and I don't have to. All right, I'm going to show you an easier way, though, if you're a technician. We'll go back to notes, and we'll use the add description feature. That's been in there quite a while. A lot of people aren't aware of it. It's been in there for years. Let's click add description, and it will take us to a list, a database, really, of descriptions. And you're the one that fills these out. We give you some examples, but you'll fill it out. So you might go ahead and get the condenser motor replacement description. Maybe you're replacing the capacitor. If you can't find what you're looking for, then you can do a search like we saw before. So I'll type in the word clean. We'll see what we get. An evaporator coil. Was it readily accessible? All right, we'll say, yeah, that's the one. And keep scrolling. I'm not seeing one for the condensate drain. Type in drain and see if that finds it. Condensate drain, replacement, clean. All right, so we'll do that. And click add. Now we'll go back to notes, and we have some good notes here. You can hit the edit button and edit those, but now you've got really good notes. And most technicians, and I'm a former tech, really still a tech, just don't do it for a living, but you're always a tech because I think like a tech. I don't like writing things down. I have poor handwriting. My spelling is really bad. So what I like to do is use the voice recognition feature on my device, and I like to use the description database. So the office needs to spend a little time putting in a lot of good descriptions, and that way everybody can just pick from them. So now it's time to make our presentation. And I don't know if your company flat rates, if your time material, this could be commercial, residential, it may be commercial, and we just need a signature, and they are not supposed to see pricing at all. And we have settings for all of that. So all of those things can be accommodated because we have tons of settings. And remember, I made the point that all those settings and preferences and permissions, it's like a difference of opinion, a different way of doing things. And a lot of software just doesn't give you that flexibility. Let's click this hamburger menu and go to links and print preview. Now remember, when I do print preview, I get whatever the boss says I get. Whoever set this up, that's what I get. But we can change any of that. So don't worry about what you see or don't see here. You may not like it, but remember, we have lots of settings that can be dealt with. So here is our work order. One of your options is to show what they could have saved if they owned a service agreement. You have an option of having declined buttons so they can decline these repairs. It's not accept or decline. It just, what it does is it just assumes that you want it. So they can click that, and they can click that to bring it back. Now, we can use a pre-authorization signature if that's what your company wants to do. So at this point, what we could do is we could get a signature to go ahead with the work. I'd make my presentation. I would explain everything to you. I'd say your total investment is $778.89. By the way, do you own one of our safety and efficiency agreements? Oh, you don't. Okay. I just wanted to see if you qualified for the $116.83 discount, which, by the way, if you want to make the investment, I could go back in time, if you will, and give you the discount as if you already owned one. Would you like to know more? So I'm going to try to sell that. That makes it a little easier, but you can get rid of that. Maybe you don't want to do that. Again, that's a nice thing about this software, lots of settings and preferences. Now, they go ahead and authorize the work. It's $778.89. One habit I would get into, if you don't do it already, is I would say this. Now, once I complete my work, I'm going to run your system for about 15 minutes or so and make sure that I don't detect any other issues that we need to talk about. But don't worry, nothing happens without your approval. And then you can get their signature. Now, one thing that you might want to do is when you capture their signature, if that's how you want to do it, remember your company has to make some decisions on the flow, how this goes. When you capture the signature, you could mention sales tax not included. We often get asked, how come sales tax isn't on a work order? It's not supposed to be because it's not a transaction. It doesn't have sales tax on it. Remember, a work order. Remember the old days. I got a work order here to repair your phone. I got a work order to fix the roof leak. It's just a permission slip. But if we're doing commercial work, this may be where it ends. So we would capture the signature, put in the printed name, hit submit, and that may be the end of it. But I'm going to say that we're doing residential work. So we actually wouldn't stop here. We would go one step further. We would create the invoice. Now, before I do that, though, I just want to mention you've got a lot of options here. And if your company hasn't made clear the flow, then that's a conversation you guys want to have is what do we do under what circumstances? And if you're not sure, you can discuss it with one of our consultants here at Aptora. Do you want to allow your technicians to order parts, to create purchase orders? And I highly recommend it. If we need parts, we would create a purchase order here. And there's methods for that. But I'm not going to go into any of those things. I'm happy to do it later, but obviously I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and emerge an hour later and we haven't made our invoice yet. So I'm going to click Create Invoice. Now it's asking me two important things. Do you want to mark this work order as completed? Do you want to include the items? I don't want to mark it as completed. I do want the items. And I'll probably tell you why here in a minute on mark completed. I don't want to mark it completed because I'm not, by the way. I mean, that's the short answer is I'm not done. I don't know. So I could have something pop up. They may have a question. They may want something else. I want to mark it as complete at the very end. Now, I should say that if you have to present the price with sales tax, this is the way to do it. You go into the invoice and let the invoice collect sales tax or calculate sales tax rather. But typically, it doesn't matter. In my experience, doing mostly residential and a lot of light commercial. I did a lot of light commercial work, refrigeration work, HVAC work. We always spoke before sales tax. And it was fine. But if you have to have sales tax, the way to do it is to create the invoice at this point. Remember, we're on a service call. So I'm going to click yes. And it copies over everything, all the notes, all the items, everything. So this is really an exact duplicate in invoice form to what you had. Now, if you needed to, you could send them, or pardon me, print preview it and talk to them about the pricing, but we already did it. We ran the system. Everything was fine. So we walked up to them and said, well, good news. I got everything done. And I think you're in good shape. So if nothing else was needed, we created our invoice. But we still have time to add to this invoice if we needed to. Now, I don't have any need to print preview because in the scenario that I'm drawing for you, we've done all that. They said yes to the money, and we didn't bother capturing the signature because it's not policy. Maybe it is for you. We create our invoice. Now it's time to tell them everything went well. I have their situation resolved. What method of payment would you like to use today? And that's how I close it. That's how I put an end to this. And they say, well, can I pay cash? Sure. We don't prefer cash, but you can pay cash. All right. Well, I have $100 I'd like to give you. Click add. And then he'll say, then I would like to pay you the rest with a check. Is that okay? Oh, sure. That'll work. So go back to take payment again. We'll type in check. What's that check number, please? Okay, there we go. Click add. And now it shows the cash, the check, and the balance is 0. And if you need to, at this point, you could capture your signature. I say if you need to, some people don't. I mean, they don't capture the signature if they've been paid, but I would, of course. So you capture the signature, get them to do it with their finger, stylus if you have one, type in their name, and we'll type in Jimmy Buffett there. I agree to the above charges and fees. Remember, you're able to change all that. Amount due, 0, submit. And that's that. Now, you could send them an email with a PDF attachment. You'll have an opportunity to attach photos if you would like to. So send the PDF email might be your next step. You can attach pictures if you need to. If you have a printer, you could print preview and print it, but almost nobody has such a thing. If somebody wanted a hard copy, I wouldn't carry a printer. If someone occasionally wants a hard copy, what you could do is take advantage of the to be printed button, yes, right here. And that would tell the office, we need to print this and send them a copy. Now in Total Office Manager, and I'm not done with mobile, I promise I'll come back. In Total Office Manager, you're going to want to set up a filter. And I called mine simply mobile invoices right here. When you click it, it will show the various mobile invoices. And there's the invoice that we just created right here. And you can see to be printed is yes. And you can print those in a batch mode here. You would go to company utilities, or pardon me, you would go to file, printing, print forms. What kind of forms? Sales receipts, invoices. That's the one right there. You pick the AR account. That's how we organize them. And you could go find just that invoice. I have quite a collection here, don't I? 513 of them. That's where you would print them. So you could print them in a batch manner. That would take care of the occasional, I got to have a hard copy. But it's getting super rare that any of us are hearing that anymore. All right, so we're back to the invoice, and that's it. There's really nothing else to do. We've been paid. We're ready to move on to our next service call. I'm going to hit the home button. If I have another service call, it will show up under work orders right here, and it might say 1, because remember, one of our settings is just show them one at a time. Now, we have a notice up here, open working timesheet for work order number 871. I couldn't go get another work order if I wanted to. It wouldn't let me. It would tell me, sorry, you need to clock out of your last work order. So I'm going to come up to the work order when I'm in my truck. So I've gone back to my vehicle. It's the very last thing I do. I've gone back to my vehicle. and I go to the hamburger menu and I hit stop timesheet. And now it says, do you want to complete the work order? Yes, I do. And I will complete it. Now remember, there was a setting that will change the end time of the work order. If the end time of the work order is 30 minutes from now, it's going to modify that. So it will end up looking different here. It'll end up shortening the length of this, potentially, or extending it for that matter. But if you want that to match the punch in, punch out, then that option's for you. I'll click yes, go back home, and the process starts over again. So that's how we manage our work orders. If we wanted to if we wanted to order parts, then we would have filled out a purchase order. And when the parts came in, assuming we don't go get them, when the parts come in, we would be notified under the special order parts arrival, and there'd be a note from the office explaining our instructions, what we're supposed to do. So that's one great way to order parts and get notifications that those parts have arrived. If they are going to go get the parts on their own, I would still have them fill out a purchase order. I would still have them do a PO. And if you'd like, you could have them take a picture of the receipt. So let's say that they go to Home Depot. They would pick a vendor, Home Depot, and they would take a picture of that receipt at Home Depot. Hopefully they'll still turn in the receipt, but you really don't need it if it's a good picture. And that's how you can keep track of that. And when that, again, the other option is to order parts for them, and they'll know about it with the parts arrival. All right, I promised we would talk about our investment guide. Let's click on that. That used to be called My Flat Rate Book. People have asked, why did you do that? It's really an investment guide. It could be flat rate pricing. It could be more like a traditional time and material where we itemize things. It could have been for equipment change outs. It's pretty easy to use. You come in here and you've got a button called View Cart or Empty the Cart. And up here, you've got a selector for your different carts. There's a great video on this too, by the way. It's the old interface, but it looks exactly the same, just different colors. So it is identical. So don't let the old interface throw you off. There's a good video on how this works. It just looks slightly different, but it behaves the same. These are the different carts, good, better, best. We simply call them carts. Like you go to, say, Walmart or Amazon and see what's in your cart. You give them any name you want. The way we do it at EGIA University is we have 5 options, not 2, not 3, not good, better, best. We have 5. We call them value, ultimate, supreme, prestige, or optimum. And you could have something like COVID relief to give people a little bit of a break on service calls where you can divide up the payments. Each of these, the nice thing about these is each of these can have their own financing terms. And I'll show you. It's probably just easier to show it to you. So let's click View Cart. And here, I might say, look, your value investment is to just go ahead and replace the part. Now, typically, we would not finance this, but I have that in as an example. Let's click here, go to investment guide, or pardon me, go to filters, cart type, and let's look at optimum. So here's our best system. Notice it says optimum investment, 10,870 or 434.80 down, with a monthly investment of just 221.73 for 48 months. Now we have control over the interest rates, etc., on this offer. We have control over down payment and everything else. You can add photos. You can have a default photo, so you can just go from photo to photo. You can decide if you want links down here. You can link to videos, brochures, websites, whatever. You can decide if you want to itemize the pricing. You'll notice this says 1 of 4. So this isn't everything. This is the cooling system. And then we could go to the next one. Notice the price is still up there, same thing, because there's 4 different components. So you would go over the cooling system. You might go over the heating system, the evaporator coil, talk about the ultimate comfort and convenience package. We call it the premium comfort plan. You have all your pictures. Now you set this up in Total Office Manager. You added all these photos in Total Office Manager. You added all the descriptions, etc. Finally, our best warranty, etc. So that's how you set that up. And remember, you can switch from different carts. You could go to the Supreme cart. You could go to the Prestige cart. I have an Ultimate. And it works the same way. Pictures, etc. Or you could just consider the repair. So you could go back to the repair. Now, if they say yes to all this, then you have some options from here. What you might want to do then is add this to an invoice or an estimate. You might add it to a work order. If they are going to entertain bank financing, you might want to include the investment info up here. So we'll check that little box and we'll click add to an invoice or an estimate. We make that decision here in a moment. Now, it would show us any of the invoices or estimates that are available to add. We could decide if we want to add this to an estimate or an invoice. And here are the various estimates that we can add it to, or add to a new estimate. So I'm going to say add to a new estimate. Let's see, add to a new estimate. Huh. I'm not able to load that. So let's just put it here. Now it says insert at what position? And I'll say position 1. So, and we can decide on different positions if we want to. So we saw that earlier, right? We saw that same feature earlier where you could decide what position you would put it, maybe say, oh, I want it here at the end or wherever. I happen to pick one with a ton of things in it. Probably shouldn't have, but I'll do it anyway. All right, so now we've added it to the estimate. Of course, the estimate can have sales tax calculations on it. And that's really more appropriate when you need to show them sales tax. And sales tax would be shown on jobs typically, but not on service calls, not on maintenance. Earlier, I said that it's important to use work orders, estimates, and invoices at the right time. This is one example where we would use a work order as a permission slip to go out and do a service call. And we quote the price, usually from the work order, but you don't have to. Again, you could quote it from an invoice if you wanted to, but I would do it from the work order. I always have thousands of them. And then I create the invoice. If we're giving a proposal on equipment changeouts or accessories, indoor air quality, then we probably would want to go to an estimate, because if they say no, we really want to work that estimate. We want to consider that an opportunity. So remember, a service call starts with a work order and goes and typically flows into an invoice. But if you're proposing an equipment change out, you want to create an estimate for that. And if they say yes, then you want to create an invoice and get a down payment or collect all of it, depending on where you're at in the process. So that's the difference between using the work orders and the estimates. All right. So that was your investment guide. That's how you propose different options. There's a great video on setup, but remember, to get started with the investment guide, you would log in as the admin and you would set up the various shopping cart views. You can have as many as you want. You can call them good, better, best if you like, whatever you want. But the first step is to set up your various cart names, because you can have multiple carts. Also, you can add multiple shopping carts to a single invoice. Remember how you had the opportunity to pick an existing invoice or an existing estimate? Most likely it'd be an estimate. If the person says, I still don't know, I either want to go with option A or B, maybe even D. Well, you can add A, B, and D to one estimate if you prefer. You might want to consider 3 estimates, but you could add all 3 to one estimate, because remember, the system gave you the opportunity to create new or pick an existing. You'd create new first, and then you could add multiple shopping carts to one estimate. Whenever possible, I like to create multiple estimates to give the user, the customer, the prospect, the impression that they've gotten multiple bids, quote unquote. I don't like that word, but I use it purposefully now. Many people think, well, I got to go out and get 3 bids or 3 prices, got to talk to 3 companies, get 3 options. So if you hand them 3 estimates, that might go a long way to exhausting them. And they might just say, look, I've got 3 already, or I'll talk to one more company and get one from them. And now that other company, if they gave them 1, they now have 4, and 3 of them are yours. 75% of them belong to you. All right. So I'm going to pause here a moment and check in with Erica. Erica, is there anything that I need to... Hi. Is there anything that I should answer on screen?
Not at the moment. I pretty much got all of them answered.
Okay. All right. I did see one question come in. Have you fixed some of the things that the new user interface broke? You probably answered that, but my answer would be probably, I think so, because, but you want to check the revision notes. So go out there and check the revision notes. But I believe we've gotten everything or close to everything. I think we're really down to just nitty gritty stuff that's not, I don't want to say not important. That's the wrong word. I was looking for a better word, but I think we have everything taken care of, especially all the important stuff. And I was asked what version. So rather than tell you, let me show you how I would find out. We would go, well, when you log in, you would know, for one thing, but I'm going to show you the hard way. So we'll go to More, and we'll go to Help. It's helpful to know this too, because tech support might ask you certain things. And here, it tells you some information that support may want to know someday, right there. And then you can click About, Version, and I'm on 7.1.2.71. And as we all saw, an update was available, and I don't know what it fixed, but I bet I could easily find out, because I just have to go to those revision notes and have a look. Oh, you know what? Why don't I just go there? I keep talking about them. I keep thinking, well, everybody's been there. Maybe you haven't. Maybe 1 or 2 of you haven't been there. So let's go to that website real quick. I said real quick. I didn't mean, don't make me wait. Had to log in. All right. I'm logging in. You don't know my super secret password. You get on there and do all kinds of fun things. Go to resources, release notes, and mobile 2 in this case. We'll see what's in there. I said I was 71271. Oh, so I'm in one that hasn't been released yet. All right. So on November 1st, we put out this release, and we have one going out again. And you'll see we got quite a few things fixed. Remember, your ticket number will be included. If you have a ticket number, you're waiting on something, and then we summarize the tickets here. All right. So that was a long answer. What version am I on? But that's where you'd find that information and more. All right. Erica, anything you would like me to cover? All right, I'm going to do something anyway here. I'm going to go to master lists. Now, master lists are the full list. Keep in mind, the home page had a work order list, but those are only work orders that pertain to that technician for that day or the next day, depending on the settings. This is where they would see a full list of work orders if you wanted to allow them to do that. And then they could go in, and if they have permission, they could edit the work order or see the work order. So that's the difference between the master lists. Oh, and I saw also, I'm going to try to answer a question here. I saw the sales rep. Oh, you found it. I was going to go to it. I was going to answer that question about the sales rep, but they already got to it. All right. Oh, this is fairly new. Only display 1 year time span. Just in case you have it set to show many, many, many hundreds of records. We thought we would at least just limit it to a year, because for most people, they don't need anything beyond that. But of course, you could uncheck it and show a lot more if you want to. So that's relatively new. That's the new, that was added when we changed the interface. All right. Erica, can you think of anything that we should
Sorry,
cover?
earlier I was on mute.
That's all right. Can you think of anything that you would like me to cover?
Sales opportunity would be one thing to cover in mobile.
All right, sales opportunity. Okay, so remember, we talked a little bit about this earlier. We have a few things to think about when it comes to putting in a sales opportunity, or what many people call a sales lead. We just chose opportunity because we're in the habit of using that word going back decades. Sales opportunity. If you want to put in a sales opportunity, you'll have to have permission, of course, and you would maybe click here. You also have the quick add. Don't forget, many of you are used to the quick add. You click that. That's not new. It's now in a menu, but this feature is not new, and you could do it here. So it skips the list, just goes right into it. This is where you'd fill out the lead. Now, there's a big important difference on this. A feature request was, don't force me to pick a product. So when the technician fills this out, unlike Total Office Manager, in Total Office Manager, you have to pick a product. And once you pick the product, certain things cannot be changed. And there's good reasons for that. But in mobile, the technician may not know what the product is, so we did not require that. That's, I guess, about 6, 7, 8 months old, something like that. But we made that change earlier in the year. Otherwise, it's the same. You're looking at the same things. Have them go ahead and pick a customer. I'll type in James Madison, salesperson. You may not know who the salesperson's going to be, so you might leave it blank. And the rest of this, you may not have any idea. Probably, though, you're going to put in some notes. You're going to say something like HVAC system complete, maybe something to that effect. That's you putting in a sales lead for somebody else. Click add, or for yourself, rather. Correct. Let me correct myself. That's you putting in a sales lead. Could be for yourself, could be for somebody else. But chances are, if you're a technician, you are going to want to select the employee lead field. And let's just see what that looks like. Let's go to edit. The employee lead would be your name. You may not be the salesperson. That might be Andrew. But you are the origin. You're the employee that created the lead. And you'll hit save. So now we've created a sales lead, but it's going to show up under employee leads for this employee. So it's one of their leads that they can keep track of. And we did that because we've had many technicians tell us that they feel like they're wasting their time generating sales leads for their coworkers. They feel like they're not being pursued. So as a direct result of working with technicians, we added this feature. And I think it's gone over really well with those companies that know to use it for that purpose.
Can you cover the different printing styles found in mobile?
Yes. Yeah.
For work
So
orders and invoices?
sure. We touched on that just slightly when we went in as the admin. But let's go to, say, master lists. There's different ways to get there. And we'll pick, for example, why don't I pick estimates? It's all the same. When I show you one, it's very similar everywhere. And we'll just eyeball, as I like to say, an estimate, because it's an eyeball icon. So here I am in an estimate. Could be an invoice, could be a work order. How do I control the print preview? We always have a settings button right down at the bottom. And you can get into it as an admin and force it on everybody and then keep everybody out of the settings page if you want to. You could force defaults on everybody and then let them go in and change it. We'll click settings. So here it is. You have these different options. And by the way, if you want to know what they look like, it's faster to just preview them than to call us. It takes less time to just preview them for yourself. I would recommend you preview, print, write the name on it. Now you got a record of it. Hole punch it and put it in a binder somewhere. But time materials, it will depend on the settings below, but time materials was designed to show you one line item after another, probably show you quantity, description, price, extended price. Itemized, same thing as above, but no prices. Totals only, you're just going to see the total, no parts. Flat rate presentation, you could possibly show groups, line items, you have options, but there'll be no pricing. It'll just be one big price. Or you could do flat rate presentation with the items. So without items, with items. And again, it's easier just to see it in action. But remember, there's a lot of things down here that you want to look at because you may want to hide the subtotal, the sales tax, and the total. You might want to hide those and just show the itemized pricing. You might say to yourself, why would anyone want that? That was a preference, a feature request. Somebody wanted that. Believe me, we did not add that because we thought that was a good use of time on our own. It was definitely somebody wanted that. Not that that's wrong. I just mean that we wouldn't put that in there for the heck of it. You might want to hide the sales tax. You might want to exclude zero volume items. So in other words, if the price is zero, then you might not want to show that price at all. So that gives you even more flexibility. If the item has a zero amount, so this would exclude the line item with a zero amount. This right here actually removes the zero values from the item. So in other words, it's blank. It doesn't say zero. It just has nothing. It says nothing. And then this one would get rid of the line item altogether. So you have a lot of options here. And that's what controls the ultimate look. So I hope that addresses that. Do you think that does, Erica?
I believe so, yes.
So let's see. Dan said NA for the price field will be NA when the item displayed as a group. Oh, okay, group item. Yeah, good comment. Thank you.
You'll also see the NA when it is, you don't have permissions to see the pricing. A lot of people don't know that that's a security setting.
Yeah. So if all of you can see people's questions, then you can see the comment about the NA came from a person named Daniel. That's not a customer. That's a developer. That's a software engineer. And the only reason why he's here, along with others, is because they care. I mean, they really care about this product. All of us do. And it may not always seem like it because somebody's not getting what they want, or it doesn't do what they want it to do. And I can understand that. I can appreciate that. But remember, there's a lot of differences of opinion, but we really care. And that's one of the reasons why the engineer that is in charge of this project is on the phone with us. All right, so that is your settings. Again, they all function the same, whether we're in the invoice estimate. They can be by user, they can be global. The way you do global is you copy to everyone, and then you have the option of keeping people out of this form. Remember, this form is protected with security, so you can keep them out of here, and they would have to use the settings that you want them to use. One thing I'd like to mention is, did you want to say something, Erica?
I was going to say, if you want to hit on the master user preference, because I don't think a lot of people know that master user exists, and then also go over document links and how to add pictures, documents in the field.
Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about the document links first. Let's go to search button. And remember, that was a setting. What is it going to search? I have mine set up to search for names. Customers, rather. And we'll pick on James Madison here, get into his record. And down at the bottom, it says upload file as a document link. So here I would have the ability, this could look slightly different on your device. So remember, depending on your device, Apple, the iOS or Android, or even the device itself, the operating system, the browser, it could look a little different, but it's going to be about the same. You can, sometimes you have the opportunity to simply drag and drop, or you can hit the select button and you would go find the record that you're looking for. And that's that. Now, what about taking a picture? If you're on a device, you'll have the option of selecting your camera, and we won't see it here. But if I click my button, then it'll give me an opportunity to pick a file from a directory, from a storage place, or it will give me an option of taking a picture. Once I take the picture, it'll say, I forgot the exact language, are you okay with this? Basically, yes. And then you've created the document link. Now, if you ever want to see the customer's document links, the various links that are available, then there's a place to go look at those. Remember, this right here is just to add one at a time. If you'd like to see a list of existing document links, click this. And this will take you into a form that shows you all the document links. Now this is probably obvious. What I'm about to say is probably obvious to you, but that is the same thing as if you went to a customer and opened their document links. in Tom right there. So you're looking at the same thing here. And then you can click on one. And if I probably have an old one here that's not going to function because I've moved my database around. But that would allow me to click on it and view that document link. Now, I should add this to my notes too, by the way. Another web app advantage, the browser advantage, is that you can drag and drop those files, as I mentioned, but you can also drag and drop a couple of them at a time. So that's another advantage that I should put in my records to mention to people. And that's kind of a big deal, really, offering you two different options here. Some companies have a web app browser only. Others have an app only. And we have both, and they function identically with the exception of these minor little things. So you don't have to learn new software. All right, so that is your document links feature. Obviously, when you add a document or a picture, we call it document links. We could have just called it file links, really, because it can be a picture, it can be anything on your hard drive. Obviously, when you add those in mobile, they should be available in Tom, Total Office Manager, instantly. If you're having trouble with that, that's a common tech support question. So give us a call and ask us to help you fix it. In other words, if you can't see these in mobile, and mobile can't be seen in Tom, then we need to get that fixed for you, because when you add them from mobile, you should be able to see them in Total Office Manager instantly and vice versa. All right, so I covered that, Erica, and then you said something else, and I forgot what it was. Something else to cover.
The master user?
Oh, the master user.
Yes.
What do you mean by master user?
You go to more and security, and then user list security, or that's for the Tom one, user security, and then select one of the users. And then scroll down towards the bottom. There's
By
an
the way,
option to dictate a user as master.
I was going to
I
say,
shouldn't say bottom.
one thing you could do is type in that word and search for it.
There you go.
Right. I got you. Yeah, forgot about that. Right, so allow copy all settings. Yeah, I referred to that earlier, and I'm glad Erica's putting it into context. If you want to give people that button, this is where to do it. And there's a little asterisk next to it. You notice that? Because we're just trying to tell you, hey, you might double think that. That makes that copy all button available. Now, it's available to the administrator no matter what. But if you're the boss, you might give yourself that option right there. All right, save. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention, I'll just do it quickly, and if people have questions, I'll address them. Timesheet entries. I said this earlier, but again, I didn't give it context. You had the ability to clock yourself in and out. Sure, you can see your current pay period hours. That's handy. We'll do create timesheet. Now, you probably know you can clock yourself in and out, but did you know that you can clock other people in and out at the same time if you have permission? So here it's suggesting Ashley Adams because that's who I'm logged in as, but I can add other people. And then I can clock them in and out. And I have an advanced tab with permissions protecting it. And we can pick other things like the customer, the work order, etc. This gives you the ability to clock in your crew or clock in someone that forgot to clock in or whatever. Now, one common problem with this is that users will get an error message and they may not understand what it is. You have to be sure that the people that you're clocking in and out, you have to be sure that their payroll is set up. Let's just right click on somebody, go to payroll items. You want to be sure that not only is their earning item set, service item, earning item for travel, maybe a work comp code. You want to be sure you've got all that set up. Also, you'll get a message that tells you that you've got people mixing earning items and you can't do them all at once. So two things happen. Either this isn't set up and it's missing info and it tells you, and it's, you may not understand, especially if you're a tech or a manager in the field, they may not understand the message is indicating that some of this isn't set up. The other thing that can go wrong is because we're clocking in 2 or more people, they all have to have the same earning item, such as what? Hourly regular time, for example. And then for travel, they would probably all need the same if we're doing travel. So be sure that that's set up, otherwise you'll get an error here. It tries to explain what needs to be done, but again, to your average non-desktop user, it's kind of hard to figure out what they mean. All right. Can you think of anything else, Eric?
Touch on Form Builder?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get out of this and not clock those people in or out. All right, so Form Builder is probably one of the best kept secrets at Aptora. And as you know, when you're a business, you don't want to keep your products a secret, especially when you charge money for them, right? So tell me how I can make it not such a closely guarded secret, because we sure don't want it to be. We have people using what I'm about to show you and absolutely consider it the best thing Aptora has ever created. Seriously, they do. They say that they couldn't run their business without it. And there's others that look at it and say, I don't even know what that is. What Form Builder is it's a desktop application. And it allows you to create data input screens inside Total Office Manager, or pardon me, inside mobile, your mobile app. So if you've ever wanted to say, look, Aptora is nuts, I'm going to build my own form and do it right, then Form Builder is that software program. It allows you to build your own data input forms. Now, it doesn't allow you to build accounting forms like an invoice, but it allows you to build data input forms that could be things like cooling system checkups, heating system checkups, installation quality checklists, things like that. So an installation quality checklist might look something like this. You have all these fields and you give them names and descriptions and values, and you can create drop downs and lots of things like that. You could create an OSHA injury report. Let's have a look at that. So we have an OSHA injury report. And all those fields that you're looking at, come from that report. And then finally, with the injury report highlighted, you hit the options button and you tell the software, where do you want to put that? Do you want it to appear on the employee form? Yes, I do. What about the installation quality checklist? Where would it go? Well, I want to put that on the customer form, maybe the work order form. Maybe it'd go on the invoice. Click OK to that. Now, when you're in the software, and let's just go to, well, you know what? Let me do this. Let me go to master lists, employees. I was going to go to customers, but that's easy. Employees, we're going to go to Ashley and open up a record. Unfortunately, she got hurt and we have to fill out a 301. So we're going to go to Forms, and it's loading. So it's looking to see what you wanted to have there. I have an employee performance review that we've been working on that I'll share when it's done if you'd like. There's the OSHA 301 injury report. So what it's doing is it's loading the data input screen, or it will. It's going to show me the ones I already have where I can make a new one. Let's open one up. So here it opened up the OSHA 301 injury report. And the various fields that you see are the fields that I added. So I created my own. And I can come here to edit that. So we're able to put in the dates, the gender, etc., treatment facility. Every one of these is an exact match from the real form. And I'll hit save. Date completed. Let me do something to dirty it. Hit save. So here I have required fields. I told the program when I set it up, these fields are required. So I have to fill those out. Female, yeah. Physician's name, okay, that should be it. Oh, date of injury or illness. Oh, yeah, I didn't like that because those dates don't make sense. All right, let me fix that. Date of birth. Date of birth, let's see, 1999. Making me do legit stuff here. Date of injury, required field is date of injury or illness. Where are you? I'm not seeing where I put that field that it wants me to fill out.
It should be in red.
Yeah, hire date. I might have inactivated the field showing somebody how to do that.
Oh, well that.
So yeah, that's the problem with live television here. I probably showed somebody how you could inactivate the field, but you don't really want to do such a thing. Let's click generate report. And there you go. So how did I make this form? That's a PDF. I downloaded it from the internet. I did clean it up a bit. I kept it official because I didn't want to change it, but I just made it look better. I changed the font slightly, cleaned it up a bit. And as you fill this out in mobile, it's filling out the PDF. And then when you fill this PDF out, it gets saved automatically to Total Office Manager. So that data is inside Total Office Manager. It's in many different places, but you could go to the employee list, go to Ashley. I don't have to open her record. Go to document links. And those are the documents. There's the OSHA form right there. Right click. I could edit it just to show it to you. You can see that it got created from mobile, the date and all that. There's hers. That's it. There's a master list under Document Manager right here, Document List. There's the master list. And if I want to do something with the raw data, I can go to the Custom Data Viewer. And under the Custom Data Viewer, I have custom data views for the dashboard information. So that, or I said dashboard. I meant to say for the form builder information. So we can come in here and build reports off all of that data. We have all data, current month, current year, every field imaginable. And you can do things with the raw data if you want. You could put it into Excel. You can build reports. There's all the fields that have been created. So one of the things that I really like to use it for is to build checklists, quality assurance checklists, things like that. And I'm working on some really cool ones. I say me because I have a real interest in this product, and I'm also a technician. My background is technical. So right now I am working on some new ones that I would share with anybody, but they're going to be pretty darn cool when they're done. And I'll show you one real quick here. I've got some good HR ones, which are kind of boring and no one would get excited about, but they're still really important. And then I have others that I think just look really cool. I'll show you the PDF version of this one. So what this will do, remember, this is the PDF output. You'll be filling out the form in mobile. And those numbers will appear on the technical analysis sheet. And there could be a page 2, which would show you a bunch of other information. So I could have that as page 2, or this could be page 1, the raw data. And then we'd summarize it in a graphical form here. You can have time off requests. You can have sheets like forms to fill out if you damage your vehicle. You could have vehicle inspection sheets. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, you could just build as many as you want. We have clients that have built dozens and dozens of these sheets and have them all flowing in to spreadsheets and creating really neat reports. All right, so that is the form builder. Now, what more likely is you are going to probably use them off a work order. I went into an employee because I thought that was unusual, and it shows you the flexibility. But typically, you're going to come from a work order, and you're going to fill out some kind of inspection sheet. You could come from an estimate, for example. So if you created an estimate, let's just do it because I'm in no hurry here. Let's go to master lists, go to estimates, and eyeball this character here. We'll go to forms. You could have a pre-sales replacement worksheet. Let's see if this will go. It's been a while since I plugged this in, and I might have moved it. This would be a form that you would fill out prior to the sale. You're taking measurements, you're taking notes, things like that. We don't have one for this character, so we'll do add new. All right, so that's one I haven't quite finished, I guess, on that one. But that gives you an idea of what you can do with it. You can create pre-sales worksheets, come from an estimate. When you collect the final payment, you could have a post-sale quality assurance checklist. Let's go into this customer and go into forms. So rather than a pre-sales, you could have a post-sales or installation quality checklist, something like that. Sky's the limit, really. Well, just use your imagination. If you ever build one, you can export them and import them. So if you have any friends that use Total Office Manager, then you can share them with one another. You can export yours, and they can import them into their own system. All right, let me show you one more here because I don't know who I filled it out for. This is the PDF output for the system quality checklist. I couldn't remember who I filled it out for. This is what it would look like when it was filled out. So when you finish your install, you go through all these yes, no's, measurements of all kinds, check this, test that, inspect the other thing, and this gets filled out and left with a homeowner. And you can have something as mundane as a vehicle inspection report where you inspect the vehicle. Now, remember, this is saved to the employee's records, and you would use this for their quarterly or annual reviews. Speaking of reviews, if you have to give out discipline, then you could have an employee notice of discipline. And this becomes part of their permanent record. This is available on your mobile app while you're sitting there in line at a grocery store somewhere. You could be reading these, looking at them, filling them out. Give somebody their first warning. So whatever forms that you find are important for your company, chances are you can build that form using Form Builder, the desktop application. That's this guy here. And remember, once you activate that template, it becomes available in mobile, and then you have the option of creating a PDF to output it. How'd I do, Erica?
You did good. We had a record. Did you say that you were going to share those forms with people?
Yeah, I said that I could. Some of those I'm working on. Some are finished and came with the system. But some I'm working on, like the cool graphic one, I'm not quite finished with it. I actually had to ask for a couple of features, little minor things, to be added to the program, and we're working on that this week, in fact. But yeah, I'm happy to share any of those with anybody.
Okay.
As long as I don't get any complaints about it. How come you didn't do it like this? No, don't ask me that, please. So I'll share them. And then if anybody makes them better, they can share them back. But yeah, I enjoy making those. They're really neat because, gosh, who doesn't run their company with checklists? The only problem with a checklist is it's a piece of paper, and I don't have those data points in electronic format, right? So what if we could have checklists that somehow became data points inside of a database? And even if we don't know what to do with the data today, what if all those checklists, all those inspection reports, all those things, what if they were in the database and we could mine them later and get info out? That would be really cool. That's what we're trying to do. Here is one I was looking for earlier. This is ugly, and I meant it to be attractive. I didn't care what it looked like because a customer would not see this. When we go out to a home, we would fill this out. Now, remember, in mobile, it fills a bunch of it out for you. But it fills this out as much as it can, and then you start filling it in. And this is what you use to help build your price, and or, if nothing else, you use this to stage what you need to do the job. So imagine they call you later, could be months from now, years, and you'd have a copy of this in electronic format. And then you'd know if you needed a disconnect, a line set, a pad, etc. You'd have measurements in case you want to get a head start on bending sheet metal. If nothing else, make sure you have the metal, but you could use this to bend the metal. And of course, even if you never have seen a low boy in your life, you can modify this a lot easier than starting from scratch. So once you build one of these in mobile, once you build one, you can make a copy of it, and then just change it around a little bit and give it a new name. So that's the form builder. That's the story. I'm sticking to it. All right. Other questions from anyone? I know Erica is addressing them right now, but can you think of anything that you would like to see? Maybe you can fire off that question. I'll show it to you.
I don't think I have anything left in here that is not either support related.
I see a few here. Will mobile be able to edit the user-defined fields anytime soon? I don't know how soon, but that is a goal. The problem is that when we built the user-defined fields in Total Office Manager, and if you haven't seen them, they are here. List, user-defined field list. When we built them, we really did a great job. We did a great job of creating masking and automatically fill it out and all this other stuff. And this is just the cheat sheet here. There's a whole help topic. You can really build quite a user-defined field. The trouble is we did that so well that it's hard to duplicate it in mobile. Not because they don't know how, it's because it's a completely different technology, different language, different platform, and it didn't translate well to mobile. As you probably have seen, mobile shares all the same language, the same fields, the same lists of information. And this happens to be one of those things that's really different. But I do think we'll get it done. I'm sure we will. It's just a lot of work, and we decided to do other things first. And I also noticed somebody said, can we enlarge the technician notes field? That is something they are addressing if it hasn't been addressed already. The problem is each device handles that a little differently. So what they're talking about is when you come into a work order, for example, you have technician notes, the box, can you expand it? It already has an expander on it, but some devices you can't see it or you don't notice it's there. So we are trying to fine tune that. We had a question about Contractor Compass. Do we have an update on its availability? That is the set of dashboards, our first one being the company dashboard. The second one coming out will be Demand Service by Technician. And that is, oh, it's so close. I mean, it's being used, but we're not quite ready to release it for prime time. It has so much data and so much analysis in it. We want to make sure we get it right. But we are so close to the company dashboard being released. Right now, I think we're just trying to work out some issues with the hosted environment and all the different possible setups out there. But it is completely done. We're just fine tuning it and waiting for the beta people to stop talking about it. Then we'll move on, by the way, shortly after that, we'll have this one done. And that's a cool dashboard. Really helpful. After those two, we'll move on to, and I'm not sure the order, we'll move on to sales and marketing, HR, budget and planning. Budget and planning will probably be the third one. Sales and HR, I'm not sure which we'll do first. But you'll, gosh, when you start using them, you'll say what people are starting to tell us. They have no idea how they ran their company without the info before. I mean, they're saying, I have no idea how we ran our company before. Now, remember, our dashboards aren't cute little speedometers and gas gauges like you see that nonsense on other people's software. And that may seem like I'm being harsh, but it is. It's nonsense to have these cute little dashes and dashboard thingies with a gas gauge and the speedometer looking thing. You know, what you want, if you're anyway like me, you realize accounting is a basis of business decisions, not cute pictures. You want data, and that's what we're giving you. We're giving you a ton of information and analysis, key performance indicators, all calculated in real time, live, no synchronizing. It's going to be really fun to release it to everyone. All right. Erica, can you think of anything else that we should talk about?
No.
All righty. Okay. Well, like I said, Eric and I really appreciate everybody showing up to these things. It gives us an opportunity to see what's on your mind and ask questions and complain if you want to. That's fine too. We invite you to communicate with us in various ways. You can follow us on our Facebook page, the Aptora Facebook page. You can go to our support.aptora website. There's a discussion board that a lot of people aren't aware of. You can go to the feature request system if you have features that you want to suggest. Remember, we'll have 100 more features than we can do. That's just the nature of it. So be prepared for disappointment. We just can't get to everything. But if you filter by features that have already been approved or been accomplished, you'll see that we've already approved and completed numerous features since we put that feature request system out there. So we definitely are trying. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being here. This was taped. It was recorded. When I say taped, you can tell I'm an old guy, right? We don't tape anything, do we? It was recorded, and it'll be available soon. It's a little bit out of our control because the Zoho system processes it and then sends it to us. And then we give it a quick look to make sure it's okay. And then we upload it. But it'll be available pretty soon. We'll send out an email, I think, telling everybody it's available and give you a link. Last month's video got jacked up.
Oh.
Yeah, Zoho sent it to us and it was all staticky. So we've asked them for a copy, another copy, and they didn't say no. So we're waiting, hopefully, for them to replace it. But yeah, when we downloaded it, it looked like it was out of focus. So not sure what happened with that. All right, everybody. Thanks again for being here. We really appreciate you being Aptora clients, Aptorians. Hope to hear from you soon, and I'll see you, if nothing else, in a month. Bye, everybody.
Bye.